Start the recording. This is day 5. This here is the morning session, but hopefully we had some time to just kind of look at some of those survey results trickling in. Now, for high school students, this process does take a good week, maybe a good week and a half. This could be during, Thanksgiving break at this time. They're sending surveys out. They've written letters to different experts out there. They're getting feedback. They're just still trying to justify the problem when they're doing these surveys and market research. But we're going to be taking a look at, hey, what does all this data actually do? What is it telling us? Because yes, we want to make sure that this data is telling us that we want to make sure that this data is telling us that yes, our problem really is a problem. And the second thing that we want this to do is also help us kind of identify what should be part of our own solution. So we're going to take a look at a couple activities this morning as far as what we do with our students to really get them to look through this data, how to chart it out, and really understand what the data is telling us. So that data is going to come from, hey, what do we do for our academic research? What do we do for our articles? What are the surveys telling us? And also, too, not only what are the surveys telling us, but what is the market audience and experts are saying for us. I believe this day 5. Oh, let me just get the day 5 out so everybody can see the resources. Sorry about that. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so if you guys do a little refresh in the Google Drive, you should see some resources here for day 5. Some good stuff inside there for you all. And those of you too, as far as my PLTW land, in my Project Lead the Way land, in the curriculum, you'll see that we are still in component 2, which is all about problem validation. Element A, element B. Today we're going to be diving into element C. So there's going to be some resources here in element C. So we're going to be talking a little more about, where that similar solution matrix comes into play. We're going to be learning about some of our requirements. We're going to be learning about specifications. And then this afternoon, when we come back, we're going to talk about this thing called the project proposal. That's going to be a major presentation for our students, and we have a couple examples to show you, but that's a major milestone presentation for our students because when they get to Element C, they're wrapping up this component 2 unit. So they do a nice formal presentation. You can even have visitors come in, but that's where the project proposal comes into play. So we'll be talking about that portion this afternoon. And also to this afternoon, we are going to start thinking solutions, as in our own solutions. And we'll be ending this afternoon with a journal activity where you'll be brainstorming solutions based off of what you all researched, based off of your survey results, based off of our design specifications or product specifications inside there, our requirements. That's going to help us come up with what should go into our solution. As a reminder, nothing's ever wasted in Capstone. Trust the process, focus on the problem. Remember, nothing is ever wasted in Capstone. We're still not thinking about what our own solutions are. Yeah, in element B, we looked at other people's solutions, but we still don't know what our solution is going to be yet. Especially today, this afternoon, tonight, over the weekend. Continue to work inside your journal. Remember, whatever comes out of our brain goes inside that journal. Then we're using productivity software to type up things on a template, send letters out, make documents, charting out data, making surveys, and then all that's going to become part of our team portfolio and final presentation. Scott, any housekeeping announcements before we begin?
I was just going to say today is Friday, so for those of you who celebrate the day, salam alaikum. Other than that, I think we're ready to go.
Awesome. I love it, Scott. So, where have we been? So, we went through element A and element B. We came up with our problem. We researched it. We did the research articles. We learn about those research article summary sheets, getting the librarian involved, the long and grueling process. We also learn about the other type of justification in element A, which is surveys, reaching out to different experts out there. Again, remember those surveys. Is this a problem? And what are customers looking for as part of a solution? We are getting into element B now. Element B, now we're looking at patents out there. We're looking at USPTO. We're getting a patent attorney coming in, introducing themselves to the students. Remember, there's patents on the market that have not been manufactured yet. Just like there's products being sold on the shelves that do not have patents. So that's why it's important for students to check both USPTO and also to go out to places like Amazon or go out to places where they have commercial-based products too. That's going to allow us to now start refining our problem statement. Our problem statements typically get refined at least 3 or 4 times as students start going through each steps of the capstone design process. So today, element C. Element C is, all right, we did the research, we looked at patents, we did some surveys, we spoke to some experts now. And, for my students, hey, we're starting in September. Now we're approaching Thanksgiving time. It may even be right beyond Thanksgiving, kind of that last week in November. We're getting to the first week in December. But students have to start figuring out what is it that the customer is looking for? How are we going to come up with this design? So we kind of get into like these design requirements, these product specifications, and students have a hard time figuring out how do I pull all this stuff out and how do we rank everything on these current and past solutions? So and even too for some of our summer participants too, they always had a hard time. Well, how do I come up with these specifications at the end? And I know Scott here in just a couple minutes, he's going to get more in depth with our, design requirements and product specifications. But for me, I start my students very vague with this. And we kind of, here we are, we're in component two, we're now getting into element C. So they're putting the sticker inside the journal. But we're taking a look at our problem statements. So, after doing some research, in 2019, we found that 87% of families consistent on the average of 4 family members experience back injuries, fatigue, wrist pain from body strains due to taking items from their car to the beach. So I now have a refined problem statement, and I'll probably continue to refine that one more time. So we kind of came up with this thing here, and I know, and I'm very animated in class. When students are coming in, I have this up on the overhead projector, and I'm playing that song by the Miracles called "Love Machine." So they're coming in, they're like, "What is up with like this, 60s, 70s disco music?" And they're all kind of like smirking. But I have this up on the screen because I'm getting them to start thinking about this new element. So we have the Love Machine playing in class. And teachers are going by, they're like, what is Mr. Butler doing today? And I'm passing out the Element C sticker. They're opening up their engineering journal and they're just laughing at this time. But we call this the capstone love triangle. The reason why I use this is because if you look, it kind of looks like a triangle. It's very broad up at the top, but then we kind of drill down to some specifications. So this is a tool that I use to get students to look at the overall picture, very broad, and they kind of look at that overall picture, looking at their data, looking at their research, so that they know exactly what they're designing for, who they're designing for. So I make them do 3 slides, and you all you don't have to do this for this 2-week training, but this is a tool I use with my students, and Scott's going to share what he does with his students here in just a second. But in this capstone or EDD love triangle, they do 3 documents or 3 slides. Slide number one, I just kind of call that the voice of customer. Who is your customer? Who is the stakeholder out there? Who is your audience? Basically, what they're doing is they're kind of summarizing their market research that they did back in Element A. So just tell me your who, what, where, when, why, and how of your survey process, of your market research from taking everyday items to the beach being challenging and cumbersome. So the team here, they said, hey, After conducting research, we learned that the busiest time for the beach was between 10 and 3, Friday through Sunday. Of course, that makes sense, kind of common sense. We researched the most busiest family-friendly beaches in the area, which was Jones Beach, Long Beach, Jersey Shore, Greenwich Beach. This is where we conducted the surveys. So my students told me kind of like the when and the where of their survey process, of their market research. Well, when exactly did they do this? Well, they did it between July 8th and 23rd, which had the best beach conditions. There's no rain and very little wind. So by putting that in there, we knew that, hey, they're a perfect days. So if we're going to get anyone to participate in their survey, this was going to be the time. Now, how or how many? Well, our team completed 512 surveys. Out of these surveys, 120 were completed face to face, and the remaining were using Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, Facebook, community forums, Reddit. We tweeted them out, we texted them out to our friends, we put them up on different email listservs, and we even had a wonderful opportunity to interview Ron John, who is the owner of the Bugaboo Surf Shop, and Cindy and Ron Adam from Hilton Beachfront Rental Shop Managers. So they have their graphic swag on there. They have some images on there. We have the visuals on there. There's the team out there on the beach conducting, paper surveys. So again, this very first part, what I use as, hey, the voice of customer, my students are just telling me where do they collect the data? Who do they talk to? They're not really talking about numbers inside here as far as what the survey responses said. Not at this point yet. They're just telling me where they conducted the surveys. Or did they Thanksgiving time, or did they just have all their, family members fill out surveys and just kind of fudge the numbers? But this is kind of like proof, like, show me you went out, show me you did the surveys. Maybe they would add little screen captures from their survey link up in these different Google community forums. But it's just a one-page document or one slide that I have my students do. Tell me where the data came from for your market research. Who did you talk to? Even have a little picture on there if you want. Now, the next point. Now, this is what is the customer saying? This is kind of helping us figure out what our design specs are. Well, now I'm looking at the data. I'm charting everything out. I'm putting some of those comments from people I interviewed, some of those experts out there. So some of the questions I asked in the survey were, hey, do you find taking everyday items to the beach challenging comfort? Yes, they almost all did, 99% of them. But I also asked things too, like, what were some of the problems? Do you currently use a product on the market? If you do, what do you like about it? What do you love about it? Or what do you wish this product had? Our team is looking for a way to develop some type of product, some type of item that makes taking everyday items from the beach. So transporting items from the car to the beach. Help our team. We're trying to figure out what we should include. And you know what? Almost 98% of the people said we wanted a lightweight design. We want this to play music, holds beverages, aesthetically pleasing, fits in the trunk of a car. Um, One person said they wanted leopard print on it, but if one person out of 512 said they wanted some type of leopard print design on there, we didn't know where that came from. So no, that's not going to be part of one of our requirements. Thanks, but no thanks. A lot of comments on the surveys started coming up over and over again. People kept saying, we kept seeing accommodate beach items, accommodate the average family size, must be portable and transportable. So we kept hearing family size, must be portable, transportable. So maybe they mean must be able to, go in the trunk, but then navigate on the sidewalk and on the sand. We interviewed experts and they kept saying accommodate average family size, must be able to truck through the sand. That came out of Ron John's mouth himself. And there's Ron John there. There's Cindy Adam down there. So again, the kind of our design specs is what is it that the customer is looking at based off of our research? Also, when we're talking about products available on Amazon, Dick's Sporting Goods, Walmart, even too, when you're reading those product reviews, when you're looking at those 5-star reviews or those 1-star reviews, even some of those reviews are kind of that customer design specs. And that's going to lead us into our actual product specifications. So now when people say, hey, I want something that's a lightweight design, I got to do some research on it because what might be lightweight to me may not be lightweight for Samantha or lightweight to Scott. So we have to go over and just kind of do some research like, hey, what is something that's considered lightweight? What could most people lift comfortably if they're taking items in and out of their cars? So when they start developing their specifications, they're going to have to do a little more research. They're all going to be experts at research at this time. Well, a lot of people are saying, "Hey, we want whatever we're coming up with to play music." Well, what does that mean? My grandma, when she goes to the beach, she probably wants to play her vinyl record or her eight tracks. Where other people, they're like, "Hey, it's all about Bluetooth." So if you look at the age of people kind of going at the beach, it's mostly, like younger family. Yeah, we have some seniors out there, but typically the technologies that are out there that kind of make it more convenient to listen to music, we're looking at like Bluetooth speakers, some way to play like MP3s, or maybe some type of FM radio built into whatever it is we're going to design. I still don't know what our solution looks like yet, but all I'm doing is I'm listening with my ears. I'm just listening and looking at the data as far as what the customers are looking for. Hey, this thing must hold beverages and keep them cool. I'm going to go back to the beach. I'm going to actually look around and figure out what kind of beverages are people bringing. Some people bring margaritas, some people bring bottles of water. We've seen a whole keg of beer out there at one of these beach tents they had set up. Well, it turns out that usually the average person has two 16-ounce containers, whether it's water bottles or Gatorade, Powerade, some type of drink of their choice. No, they said we want this thing to fit in the trunk of our car. I got a lot of crap in my car. However, my car trunk size may be different than someone else's. So we're trying to figure out what are the different classifications of cars. We actually went out to a typical rental car website like Enterprise or Budget or Hertz Rental Car, and they have compact cars, they have mid-size cars, they have standard size, oversized SUVs. Well, if I kind of look at some of those cars and look at those car specs, I have an understanding of how big the trunks are. Yes, people put other things inside their trunks, but I know whatever my team does end up creating, I don't know what our solution looks like yet, but I think the constraints are I need to keep this thing within 24, 36, 12 inches high. I want this to be able to fit in the trunk of my car. Now, accommodate everyday beach items. People bring a lot of different things to the beach, but commonly going out there, you may have to do more surveys again. Going out there, what are people bringing to the beach? Well, if it's an average family size of four, two adults, two children, some people have five kids, some people have no kids. Sometimes it just may be a single parent with their children. Maybe just some people go solo, which is fine. But for accommodate everyday beach items, more people are just bringing towels, maybe a bucket of sand toys, maybe a beach blanket. So I'm just kind of getting an idea of whatever it is my team comes up with, it's got to hold some basic everyday items. Truck through the sand, okay, it's got to maybe have some type of wheels or something, but just doing some research, those hard nylon wheels don't really navigate well on sand. They do great on sidewalks, but hey, maybe when I start getting the like transportable, maybe I need some type of like pneumatic wheel on there. But again, I don't know that for sure, but I'm at least thinking, I'm starting to research a little bit. So for my students, they have a tough time thinking like this. That's why I just came up with this little model just to help my students kind of identify what are my surveys saying? What is it that my customer is looking for? And how do I develop these specifications? Because these specifications will end up being something that they have to test. Now, Scott, I know you have a lot of experience with specifications and listening to the customer. What has worked well, and what do you do with your students?
Um, so you did stuff very much from the standpoint of what the survey results were saying. If you don't have survey results, can I have the screen, please? Okay, so what if I'm just looking up products? So I picked a few products here. I got one medical product that is also just a purely mechanical thing, and then I've got a mechanical, electrical, and then I have a strictly electronic device here to look at. So here I just looked at crutches. Okay, so for a medical thing, and this is actually another thing that's kind of cool about Amazon is that they've got all this stuff. So if I click here, see more
Scott, you
product
got to share
details.
real quick. I'm not seeing your
Oh,
screen.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yep.
I didn't hit the second button. Sorry. Okay. So let me go back up here. All right. So here's just crutches, right? They're strictly mechanical things. And if I see right here, it says see more product details and it kicks me down here. And so now I can start see things like, okay, what's included in it? How tall are they? But then I can look at, okay, extended length is up to that. How much does it weigh? It's made out of aluminum and wood, right? So there's some things. Now, this is a pretty basic product, so there's not a whole lot there, but that's starting to give me something at least on dimensions of what I might need. And so if I look at a bunch of different ones, because they're going to give you all of these different options to look at, so I might start looking at it and see, and here's the I think they used to call these the Canadian crutches, so that's a different style and stuff like that. So now I can start looking at all of these kinds of things for that. All right, so let's minimize that one. Okay, how about this one? How about a robot lawnmower? Okay. So for this one, when I went down there to the extra product details, what I ended up with was the product manual. Now, this manual is 52 pages long, but if I go down to the last section, technical data. So now I have my dimensions, nice, both centimeters and inches. It tells me what kind of battery I've got, power supply, uh, energy consumption, how much current do I need to charge it in DC, frequency band that it runs on, sound sound level. There now I've got a whole rich set of stuff that I can start looking at as far as specifications that I might need to. Now, I don't know whether in my product, if I'm trying to do something similar to this, whether I'm going to need every single one of these line items, but it's telling, especially for students who've never seen anything like this before, it's going to tell them these are the kind of line items I have to put in my specification, and then what kind of numbers have to go here. And this is the thing that you have to stress with them more than anything else is that you have to have numbers because when you do a test during the third quarter, you're going to get numbers out and you're going to have numbers to compare those test results to. All right, I got one other one here. So this is my purely electrical thing. I just picked up one of these the other day. So I've got a Ethernet switch. And again, rather than a list of technical details, Amazon gave me the user manual. And so here I go again. I've got RJ45 connectors. It's 10 base T, 100 base T, or 1,000 base T. So gigabit internet or Ethernet. It uses Cat 5e or higher cables. It's got 24 ports. That's not right. Well, whatever. So what its power consumption is, dimensions, weight, operating temperature for a lot of electronic things. This becomes very important. So again, these are the kinds of things they can say, oh, we need to put this in the in our specification. We have to, specify what the power input is as well as how much it consumes and things like that. So that's kind of where I go with my students. Let's see, where did my there it is. And Amazon makes it so much easier to do. My my automated assistants, one of them is named that company, and she just responded to me from the kitchen.
Oh,
So at any rate, uh, so that's one of those that website or other websites, whether it's Alibaba or wherever you go, um, is now a real easy way to find all of that kind of information to put into your design specification. So you take that and what you're getting from the customer and everything, and you can meld that together into a really solid design specification.
yeah. Thanks, Scott. They have a hard time. If and what we pulled out too, and we put this in the day five folder. This is also Project Lead the Way, where they're explaining, design specifications versus product specifications. My students look at this and to them it's like hieroglyphics, but again, going out to Amazon, if you scroll down and click like more details, exactly what Scott was showing, now a list, what does that product do? And that's going to help students. They have a lot of spelling errors in here too, but hey, we're all human. But again, this is something you can show your students. In the E3 curriculum, they have some resources out there, but still, my students are always lost here. But ever since it was this guy, Dale Colson, it was Tim Newton, we were all just like, how the heck can we get students a better idea of understanding, where does all this survey stuff come in? How does that tell us what should be included as part of our design? Because how this all ties in, and this afternoon, the rest of this morning, when you guys get out into your breakout teams, when everyone gets into the breakout teams, when you start looking at that survey data, eventually what's going to happen is you're going to go to that similar solution matrix. This similar solution matrix, yeah, you have what you found in elements B, you have here's the beach buggy, the stroll and go, the shady rays, there's some of the patents on here, but up here now, you'll see that my team was able to start listing those specifications across the top. Those specifications came off of my team's research. Those specifications came off of my team's survey results. Those specifications came from what our experts were saying. So when we look at products available in the commercial and retail market, I'm ranking them off of my team's hard blood, sweat, and tear research. And the way that you rank these, again, there's other ways you can rank these. I like using the 0, 1, 2 method. So if I'm looking at, for example, this Beach Swaggin' Wagon, this doesn't play music. So I'm giving that a 0. This Swaggin' Wagon does not keep beverages cool. There's no insulated pouch in there. There's nothing. However, this beach swaggin' wagon, it does fit beach items. It doesn't fit a lot, but technically it does, so it gets a 1. I feel if it exceeds what it's designed to do, that's where I give it a 2. So maybe like technically all these things here, yeah, they all navigate through the sand, but some of these do a really darn better job. The wheels don't sink inside there. So that's where some of these are getting a 2. But what this similar solution matrix does is you are now looking at what's on the market, but how does it compare to your team's data? What is your specifications? What is your voice of customer telling you? What are your design specs? So this allows students to study each of these current solutions that other people came up with, and they're looking at the strong points, the weak points, what's the good competition, what's the weak competition, because when it does come time, hence this afternoon when we get into element D, now we're going to start coming up with our own solutions. When we start coming up with our own solutions, we're going to know what's currently working, what's not currently working, what are people loving right now, what are people wishing they loved that they had. So this is going to help us come up with a really, really good product because we're already studying, hey, what's work, what doesn't work based off of our own research, our data, our blood, sweat, and tears, our librarian that's been helping us out, doing those articles, walking out, doing surveys, reaching out to different experts. Those are where those specifications are coming into play. So that's how all that ties into that similar solution matrix. Scott, do you use the similar solution matrix in your class?
Um, yes, yes.
And any hiccups that your students have, or I know students complain a lot about everything these days, but any major complaints that they have while doing this activity?
No, it gets, fairly straightforward to them. Yeah, I see that you've taken off some of the stuff that they used to have on there to the right of the totals and under. Do you still have that thing down at the bottom?
Yeah, down at the bottom, that's where you can have different experts come in. and I
Right.
don't have them. So if you
Yeah.
look, there's templates out there, but
Yeah.
I did that one year, and it's like because sometimes these are opinion based, so they can go out and find experts and say, "Hey, expert, can you look at these solutions out there and figure out which one of these will play music?" Or can you see which one of these will be best at navigating in sand or ergonomics, or which one of these would be best lightweight? I just thought it was overkill. I just wanted
Yeah.
them to say, this is what we have, and this is based off of our specs here.
Right.
Anyways, so that's kind of like where that goes. And this document here, similar solution matrix, even though it's talking about current and past solutions, which is what we did in element B, I have them put this in element C because in element C, that's where they're finding the specifications inside here. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, on some of these, are you just kind of having to guess, especially like the patent ones, how it would handle in sand and stuff like that? Because you obviously don't have consumer reviews on a patent.
Yes, yeah, you'll be looking at it and you'll be looking maybe at the wheels on some of that stuff. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, you look at the ones that he's got pictures of. So what is it? The beach buggy looks like it's got, what are those big pneumatic tires?
Yep.
Yeah, and so if you look at one that's in a patent and you look at, because they've got to have the sketches in there of it, and you look and it's got these really uh teeny tiny, 3 inch diameter, 3/4 of an inch thick wheels on it. You can pretty much tell wait a minute, I got these nice big pneumatic tires running over the sand, or I have these teeny tiny little solid tires, and you can probably make a good judgment of this is not going to run through the sand well. So a lot of times, once they've been digging into this stuff, they start seeing patterns and trends and things like that, and they can start saying that, yeah, this one looks like it could be really good at it. This one looks like it's going to be really bad at it, even if they don't have an actual picture of a catalog picture of a product and stuff like that. This is also an opportunity for you to, if you go up and you look at their similar solution matrix on there and say, I know that you found a whole bunch of things that were in patents. Why aren't they on your similar solutions matrix? And so it gives you an opportunity to start asking questions and say, well, can you infer anything from this? Because the things like this, the similar solution matrix, it's an imperfect thing at best here because there's a lot of opinion and stuff that goes into whether it's a one, two, three, or zero here, right? So sometimes they just have to be making broad brush decisions on things, but that's okay. That's okay because as long as they're doing it the same for all of them, things tend to come out in the wash.
Yeah. The Project Lead the Way Police, they want us all to have you make your team similar solution matrix, which is one of your block submissions. But I do know some capstone teachers, EDD teachers, they do not do the similar solution matrix. Instead, they'll just put a picture of each item and they'll just list bullet points, the pros and cons of each one. And I feel that does the same thing. But like I said, for this summer training, we have to make you all do a similar solution matrix for the team. Where it says sources, you can even make that like a clickable live link. So if I click on this, it'll take me to Dick's Sporting Goods website where they sell the Beach Swaggin' Wagon. If I click on my Strollin' Roll patent down below. If I click on that, that could take me out to the USPTO website. So when my students are doing this, I have them actually put under sources the live link so I can click on them and actually look at a lot of this stuff myself. So as I sit down with their team, we're having our team meetings together. I'm clicking on this and I'm discussing this with my laptop open in front of them. So I kind of use this as like a team deliverable with my students.
Yeah, is this one of the ones where they also say instead of numbers you can do pluses and minuses?
Yep,
Yeah,
pluses and
and
minuses.
I tend to find that at least my population of kids don't like doing it that way. They want to have a number at the end. They got to know what the rank is because they're all into their own class rank and everything like that. So, but plus and minus can work too.
Yeah. Consumer Reports, they have like the circles with like the red and the black shades. That's actually called Harvey balls. But I started teaching my students that, and they're just so immature, so their mind was in the gutter thinking about other things. So, it's just I was like,
Hey, Jeff, it's not your students, your male students.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, the
let's be
mouse.
honest. It's the boys and the girls are all sitting there rolling their eyes at us. Oh,
Yep, yep. So I just said, all right. And then they would just keep saying, oh, Harvey balls. But Harvey balls is actually the method that they use for consumer reports. But I will show them consumer reports and how they rank items in those charts, but I just won't tell them where the name came from. But I think there may be like articles about that, but you know how kids are. That's the beauty about this class.
yeah. Well, the other thing too is, since we were talking about Amazon and everything like that, another thing you could do is you could be using the customer reviews and the stars. I mean, you could just do how many stars are you going to give it instead of a number? It may click with the kid's head a little bit more. So, okay, how many stars? Put 0 to 5 stars in there, and maybe they start put, well, the average was, okay, so why, at any rate, yeah. So there's a ton of ways you can do this.
So again, for using 0, 1, 2. 0 means it does not meet the requirement at all. 1 means it does meet the requirement. And then 2 is, hey, not only does it meet it, but they did a pretty darn good job at meeting it. I actually think that exceeds it. If you look, hey, does it play music? Yes, so it gets a 1. But if it does MP3, Bluetooth, FM, satellite, and it has, a vinyl record player inside there, that's where that would score a 2. But like Scott was saying, that can also get into some like opinion-based type things. And we are going to visit another matrix later on in element D called the decision matrix, but that comes into play when we start thinking solutions and when we start coming up with our own solutions, which is part of the fun this afternoon for our session.
Jeff, you try to make yourself sound so old by saying vinyl records, and I'll trump you and say, "Oh, it's got 4 speakers, so it plays quadraphonic."
Oh,
I'll pitch you. Most of the people on here have no clue what I'm talking about.
I have no clue. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, everyone. Look, breakout rooms are open and they should all be there. I apologize for the team I left out this morning. I will get it right by the time of training does end. But I would say continue blasting out the surveys. Is there any experts you all want to reach out to? If you are looking at that survey data, good opportunity to start developing your product specifications. Think about your research, think about any experts, and then that'll allow the team to start working on their similar solution matrix. We'll come back at 12:45 for our morning wrap up. But at this time, I will pause the recording. You are free to go out to your breakout rooms. Recording. Okay, hopefully I have some time together to work with teams. We know we talked about, looking at some of that survey data. Hey, let those surveys write out. If there's any experts out there that you may know to reach out to, the more the merrier. We also learned about that similar solution matrix as far as what goes inside those specifications. Very tough for our students to do that, but we always ask our students from the lens, what is the data telling us? Yes, it's justifying the problem, but also two, what is the customer looking for in a solution? That's why we have students ask on surveys, do you currently use a product that solves problem X, Y, and Z? What features or functions do you like? What don't you like? Or what do you think should be included as part of a future solution? So depending on those questions, help the team get some justification as far as exactly what it is the customer is looking for, and that's going to help the team develop those specifications. This afternoon, we'll be updating team deliverables and E3 resource deliverables. When we come back this afternoon, we're going to talk about what we do with our students as we wrap up elements A, B, and C as far as the project proposal goes. And then we're going to be ending talking about element D, which is the time that we start thinking about what our own solutions are going to be. because for the first 6 months in this class, we tell students, don't think about our own solutions, don't jump to conclusions, don't think about the end yet. We're only focused on the problem. So that's all going to change this afternoon. Now that we've done the research, we looked at current and past solutions, we filled out the decision matrix, and so forth. E3 submissions. I know we have a 3 hour break. Just make sure you're keeping up with those submissions. Again, we'll be updating those over lunchtime and for the afternoon. But I know Project Lead the Way, they do run reports on that. So they start probing us, on Monday, saying, hey, we have some participants out there that haven't submitted anything. Even though you may have it ready to go, just make sure you're submitting everything in that E3 system. I understand this class is different from some of those other classes because, yes, we're going through E3 and you have, certain blocks that you're filling in. We also have our team deliverables. And then also, too, we have what's out on my PLTW as far as the actual course as you kind of look at the element and all the resources inside there. So I know it's a lot. It's like 3 different areas you're looking at. Scott, anything else you have to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, since you mentioned this stuff about the my PLTW on the student thing, you do not need to do the questions in the student section, only the ones in the blocks of the core training. Last 2 weeks, we had people who were doing the core training questions, but they were doing the ones on the student side as well, and they're coming up. And I mean, if you want to do them, you can do them, but it's not part of the thing that's going to get you your certificate. So, but looking at things, we were kind of in the 90% of everybody turning stuff in block one. Block two, we're kind of down into the 80% and 64, 56, and block three. Now we're down into the 60s, 50s, 20s. So guys, let's get stuff turned in so we can get it graded and we don't get PLTW annoying your teachers here and then annoying you. And so if you've got stuff, just get it uploaded. And don't forget those discussions. I've been looking at them. Really great interactions between y'all. Somebody will post something up, and then somebody else will come back. And in fact, I saw one was there was a post, and then there was a response to it, and the OP came back and said, "Wow, what a great idea! Or what a great response!" and everything like that. That's one of the things I love about the PLTW and the fact that we have these communities where we can go out there. If you've got a question on anything, I mean, even me, having been doing this for, a decade now, every once in a while, it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And I'll hit the thing and I'll say, hey, what do you guys do with blah, 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 blah? Because, they're teenagers. They'll come up with something new every year. And all of a sudden I've got, hundreds of teachers who can respond back to me. Oh yeah, do this. And, oh, okay. So take advantage of those discussions.
Yeah. And as far as my PLTW, the student guide, just make sure, and you can see right here, we're in component two. Component two includes elements A, element B, and this morning we're talking about element C. So click on the links, check this stuff out. There's some good resources inside here, but this is available for you all. Now my system here just froze on me. But anyways, with that said, does anybody have any questions before we return back this afternoon?
As of right now, what percentage are we supposed to be completed with? And by the end of the day, what percentage or what submissions should we have already been able to answer?
That will be updated on E3, but you should have all of blocks ones in there, blocks twos, and blocks threes inside there. Probably
And
this afternoon and tonight, you'll be able to start looking through some of the block four.
yeah,
But if it's, hey, this is our, fifth day of training, and if you don't have like, you only have like one block one done, then that's going to be an issue. That's going to raise
yeah,
some red flags inside there.
yeah, right at so today is block five. I mean, if you look at the roster of stuff, the table of contents, but I stopped talking at the end of block three because block four, I have one submission from one student so far in that one. So, but yeah, anything, if you get it done, get it turned in. Let's put it that way. So, the more you get done, the better.
Yeah. And you'll see that as you start wrapping up like that similar solution matrix, that's going to be a submission. You'll see that when we start getting into this afternoon, when we start brainstorming our ideas, we'll be talking about the Scamper brainstorm method. So after this afternoon, a couple submissions will come into play there. So things kind of slow down and things pick up again real quick. Hey, Jared.
Hey, quick question. Block 3, submission 1, question 1. Submit your element B artifact.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there like a bunch of stuff in element B?
Just submit one of your patent critiques you did on that patent critique summary sheet.
Okay,
Yep.
sounds good.
I know
Thank
you did a lot. You looked at current and past solutions, all these patents, blah, everything inside there. Just submit one of those. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
And nice thing for Friday, block 5, there's only 2 submissions. So that's a nice thing that they made it easy for what we do on a Friday. So at any rate, there you go.
Yep. So do what you can so far. If you have things in limbo that you just have to submit, put in documents, take photos of, please use some of that time today. So this way you don't have a lot of weekend busy catch-up stuff going on.
Yeah.
But listen, you're all free to go. I'm gonna be around, so I'll leave breakout rooms open. If anyone does want to go back out to their breakout rooms, I'll leave my computer on so that the breakout rooms will be open. But we'll see you all back here, 4 o'clock East Coast time. Have fun in your other classes, get a good lunch, go out for a walk. We'll see you in a couple hours, in 3 hours, everyone.
Thank you guys. See you in a bit.
Yep.